And viewers, now the top focus again on the Ukraine-Russia war. In Ukraine, the central city of Kremenchuk was hit by a combined overnight airstrike, knocking out power and water across several districts. The mayor says Russian drones and missiles targeted key infrastructure, triggering fires and major damage. Kremenchuk, an industrial hub on the Dnipro River and home to one of Ukraine's largest oil refineries, has been repeatedly attacked. City crews are working to restore electricity, water and heating while officials assess the full impact. Ukraine's Air Force issued multiple warnings overnight as the Russian forces intensified long-range strikes ahead of winter, aiming to pressure civilians and disrupt industry. This strike now as U.S. peace talks wrap up. The central Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk has been struck, and it's in fact strategically located between Kyiv and the eastern front lines. It was subjected to a massive combined strike on civilian infrastructure. Russia launched a fresh wave of aerial strikes in overnight assault on Saturday, and Kremenchuk, which happens to be a major industrial hub, is the latest to be targeted. The mayor has confirmed the repeated attacks, noting that water, electricity and heat services have been disrupted, but no casualties have fortunately been reported. Problem continues. The fighting isn't slowing down even as top-level diplomacy ramps up. Cross-border strikes continue to take place in Ukraine and Russia as well. In the latest, Russia has launched a fresh wave of aerial attacks on Ukraine, hitting major industrial hub just hours after Zelensky concluded negotiations with Trump's negotiating team in Miami and said the talks were very constructive. The fresh wave of attacks has in fact stalled peace efforts. Russia now targets infrastructure in Kremenchuk, power and water supplies disrupted. All right, now joining me in the discussion here is retired Major General Sudhakarji, international relations and defense expert. Joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you, retired Major General Sudhakarji, once again for joining us here at NewsX World. Now, peace talks wrap up and then boom, there's a massive strike. Should Donald Trump concede that his negotiations are failing so far?
For getting me for your show in matters related to ongoing conflict for more than 3.5 years, with such a complex situation to navigate. Yes, you have a point in the question, and he should think it over. And there are no quick solutions. All that I would say in defense of this peace proposal is at least somebody is thinking in terms of bringing back some kind of normalcy and peace to this mindless conflict. But having said that, we need to identify as to there is a clear indication. Despite all proposals being mooted out, the sincerity of purpose, the selfless commitment at the highest level, at the level of Donald Trump, there is something this outbreak of intense shelling and massive attack is telling Donald Trump and his team to take cognizance of. What is it? All I'm saying is that be pragmatic. What is pragmatism in kind of ongoing conflict? Pragmatism lies in giving priority to the first issue. The first issue, to the best of my mind, being a ex-military man, is that this mindless shelling and massive attack must come to a freeze. Only then you can make some movement or headway towards the peace. You see, in Alaska, Putin did convey a point that you have the larger peace plan, but to have a larger end state, he's talking about the end state. But to reach up to the end state, you have to means and methods in place. And means and methods would start with a ceasefire. If you don't start with a ceasefire, what I mean is, wherever one is, relevant stakeholders, there all the barrels should freeze. They should be mothballed. And when I say mothball means mothball. Wherever one is, there should be total seizure of the firing. Thereafter, it should fall back a couple of kilometers away from a particular line or point of contact. And it should be monitored and seen by a neutral force. That neutral force in Central Europe is also a very sensitive issue. People in the Europe, they want to send their troops, boots on ground, which is not going to be neutral and not going to be accepted by Putin. So therefore, one has to go into the deeper issues. The broad parameters are okay. It is moving in a direction of peace, all right. But how do you, it should be divided into short-term, medium-term goals and long-term goals. It's not going to come to an end in just about 1 month or 2 months or 6 months. It's going to be a long drawn, it's a very long game. Donald Trump will do good to actually be practical in his wisdom and think ahead that it's not going to come to an end abruptly. It is going to, it has lasted for 4.5 years. Rather, I would say it started way back in 2014, if not earlier than that. From 2014 till now, 11 long years, the conflict in multiple forms, hybrid, irregular kind of a form has been going on. The kinetic form actually started taking shape sometime in February 2022. And that's how we are counting at 3.5 years. So therefore, hold horse, go in for a long game. I'm sure, and pragmatic means I'm sure things will hold out in favor of peace.
We hope so too, and the strikes for now to at least come to a halt temporarily. Talks are productive, but action clearly not. Thank you for your comment there, retired Major General Sudhakarji. Do stay on as I request your opinion on another news coming